football coach I know, but more importantly, one of the best men I've ever met. And him to be a close friend to come in and share with you, he's been there, done that, as you figured out. Coached it out with Little, went to Thornton Academy with Dick and Resty, and started that run that they're still on right now. Went to Massapequa with a program that really had zero legacy with football. It went from there to winning a state championship. I can remember going down in the summertime. My in-laws had a place in his district. We'd go to camp, hang out. The kids would stay with mom. They had the beach and the water. They were happy. And I'd go over and work his youth camp with like 200 little Mustangs running around, all running freaking triple option. Okay? And I had a freaking blast. But that was where it was. And so does all the right things. And I think he's got an awful lot to share with you guys. And my pleasure with John Morin.
I hope it took a while to get this up and running.
Staying on schedule too.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll work the whole. There is not an X or an O unless it's in the word that's going to be in here. Because when Skip said that this was beyond the X's and O's, I think there are so many things that make up what we do as football coaches, and that I think is missing in our sport now, that are not related to any of that. That if you're going to do the job that Skip was talking about, if you're going to do the job that Dean was talking about, and I'm sure that Dan and Aaron are going to say the same thing, that those things are the most important. I've done a lot of clinics. I've had the opportunity to do here in Maine, out of state at times. Never had a problem putting a presentation together. I had a hard time putting this presentation together. Not because I don't believe this stuff, because I live this stuff. That's why it was hard. Because it made me dig deep inside about why I coach football. What football has done for me as an individual. How it helped me become the person that I am in all phases of my life, not just coaching. So a lot of this stuff is going to be, it comes from here today. And we're not good at sharing with each other what's in here. And I think that's something that needs to change. Because we need to take the lessons that we're teaching our guys. It's got to go from here to here, if it's going to make the difference that we're looking for. All right, come on. First of all, I think this is one of the most important things. You've got to find a mentor. Someone's where you want to be, has what you want to have, has accomplished what you want to accomplish. Someone you admire for those reasons. Person you aspire to be like. You got to be careful when you're choosing a mentor, especially now, because there aren't many out there. And that's one of the things that Skip has really tried to do with the MAD program, with the extension of the MFCA clinic into this clinic. Okay? You've got to find someone, okay, that you can then model yourself after. And it can be anyone, any level. Spend time studying their technique, read clinics, visit. Again, I think the best thing is the one-on-one. I'll tell you, I was very fortunate that I had a ton of mentors. Okay? First one was my dad. Okay? He is my dad, but he was also my football coach from grade 5 to 8. 5 to 8. And he was a different cat from home to the field. I didn't realize why until probably when I was just leaving high school and then playing in college. Why he was a different cat. Consistent. He was consistent, but he was a different cat from the field to when we were at home. To the point where we'd be leaving practice, and my buddies would look at me and they'd go, "Boy, I'm glad I'm not going home with him." But that's the car I was in. And then I played here in Auburn when Doc Urson was here. A great mentor. I not only played for him my first year out of high school, first year out of college, I got to coach with him and see a whole different side of him. I played for Jack McNell at Maine. I was recruited by Walter Abbott before Walter left and Jack became the head coach. Again, worked for Doc, worked for Bob Fallon. And then, and the guys that were coaching in the state, that's Pete Cooper, Tank Violet, Bob Cody, and listening to these guys speak at clinics, coaching against them. But then there are also some others. I'm wearing a buddy of mine's stuff today from Army, Jeff Munkin. We've been great friends for 20 plus years, back to when he was a GA, and now he's the head coach at West Point. He's been a tremendous mentor for me. But there's a guy that I never met, never knew, was a kid growing up watching his teams play. But any book that had Vince Lombardi's name in it, I read. Run to Daylight. When Pride Mattered. And not 100%, because there were some things, he was, I don't know if he couldn't coach today, I hope. Probably have about as good a time as Mike Landry would coach today.
Oh, yeah.
But I learned a tremendous amount from the history. So any of those, whether it's someone you played for, or someone that you played against, or someone that you admire because of what they do offensively or defensively, but you need to find a mentor. I think that's one of the most important things now. Is this thing going to work or not? Head coach job description. Coach Weiss did a great job. I wish he was here.
Next year, those.
Okay? Because he was going to continue on that. But as far as what you need, it was. How many of you saw his? It's phenomenal. He did a great job. Off the field, on the field, postseason, the game practice, preparation, conditioning, player, staff, parents, school, community, organization, planning, execution, results. You could go on and on and on and on. Okay? Right now, we're leaving that stuff. And we're going to go to the stuff that is going to be part of your job, that has nothing to do with that, but that has everything to do with it. And I think before you do that, I think you need to develop a personal mission statement. It was something that that Coach Abbott, he was my advisor in college as well, encouraged me to do. Now, it's changed, because that first one was done 43 years ago. But basically, the basic components of it are the same. They're the whys behind why you're doing what you do. And it's going to give purpose to everything that you do as well. Be specific, be concise, but most importantly, be honest. Because this may be a question that you get in an interview. what's your philosophy on coaching? You better be honest, because if you get that job, they're going to expect you to do the things that you said you were going to do. The big thing about mine was that I needed to give back to a sport. Because, you know, I told you that my dad was my coach from grades 5 to grade 8. Okay? But I was ready to walk off the practice field after my first practice. I was done. That was it. This isn't for me. Okay? And he didn't really convince me to stay till we got home. Okay? And then I just got the, if you quit today, you'll be a quitter the rest of your life. And that's all he said. And I don't know where I would have been if it hadn't been for the sport of football. Like I said, it helped me become the person that I am. But a lot of it had to do with those mentors. A lot of it had to do with my teammates. A lot of it had to do with all the situations that went along with it that I had to grow through. And by the time that I was a sophomore in college, I knew what I wanted to do. Or I knew what I had to do. I had to make sure that any kid that I came in contact with through the sport of football had to have the same opportunity to learn the life lessons I did and become the individual that they could be through the sport of football. To create an atmosphere where young men could grow and mature into better student athletes, becoming leaders who are then better husbands, better fathers, better workers, better community members and contributors. This will be accomplished through a commitment to one another, holding each other accountable to high standards, expectations, and core beliefs. Probably sounds a lot like what you talked about, Skip. Husbands, fathers, that's what it's all about. Then you need to have mission statements for your team. And it's for the same reason. We have one for our program, and then we had one that was specific for football. The program one was We Are Massabesic Football. We stand together as one through all its accomplishments and adversities. We're committed to our program's high standards, expectations, and core beliefs. We'll hold each other accountable to them, and we'll work to achieve these individually and as a supportive member of our football family. We are Massabesic Football.
Coach, how long ago did you write that?
How long ago did I
Put that together.
Again, it's changed a little, but the original one was written in 1997 when I got the job at Massabesic.
There you go. Has the game changed? Nope. Same shit, different day.
Now we're talking about high standards, expectations, or core beliefs. What are they? Now they're going to be individual to you, but I think they kind of all fall into the same category. And the thing that's funny is some of the stuff that Skip already talked about and some of the stuff that Dean talked about is in here. We are a family. Nothing comes before or between. We're going to go into family a little bit more in a few minutes too. We're talking about the football family right now as it relates to you being a team. You're responsible for yourself, but you're accountable to the family. Responsibility here, but if you don't meet those responsibilities, you need to be accountable, and you're accountable to the family. Do the right thing. I think that's exactly what Dean had up there. Do the right thing. And when you know it's right, you need to do it all the time, not when it's convenient, or not when it's just to your benefit. You need to do it all the time. This is a great one. When in doubt, don't. If there's something in the back of your mind that says, well, maybe, don't do it. Don't do it. You might do it a little later down the line after you've weighed the pros and cons and everything, but when that, don't. Treat others the way you want to be treated. No excuses, no what ifs, and no regrets. What a life lesson. We talk to our guys about all that stuff. No excuses on the field. Okay? And if I'd have done this, if I'd have done that, and then I wish I. You don't want any of those. You don't want any of those in life either. And this was our football mission statement. We are Massapequa football. We are the team of conviction. We are the state champions of mental toughness. We win in the fourth quarter. We win the turnover battle. We own the red zone. We excel on special teams. We are the team of conviction and then some. We are Massapequa football. Kind of a lot of the things that Skip talked about on his, of those important things. We kind of built them into our mission statement. 1997, but that hasn't changed. That's the same. Or it would be the same if I were a head coach right now. If there's nothing else, guys, that you get out of today, I think that this is the most important thing for us to be successful at what we do. And I think it's the most important thing that we can teach our kids right now. We are so me, I in our society now. It's sickening. And I'm talking about from upper levels of corporate America to our government, and I don't want to get into political speeches and stuff, but it's the last thing that we need to be in what we're doing. You need to take your eyes off yourself and put your eyes on other people. Because your success in the long run is dependent on the people that are along the ride with you. So 3 things you're going to ask yourself. It's not what you can do for me. What can I do for you? And again, players, assistant coaches, parents, community members, administrators in your school, teachers in your school. I'm going to tell you one thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Aaron, because it was something I was going to bring up later, but I think this is a good place right now. Best advice that I got, and this was from Bob Fallon. He says, John, when you first get a job, said, to hell with your principal, to hell with the superintendent, to hell with the AD. He said, you go find the custodians. He says, you go find the bus drivers. You go find the cafeteria ladies. He said, and the field and building and grounds guys. He goes, and those are the people that you take care of. He says, because in the long run, they're the ones that make the whole place go anyway, and you want them on your side. So you're exactly right. And once those people, when they know you care about them, oh, you got it made. You got it made. I was teaching at Thornton Academy for the first 3 years I had the Massapequa job, and I was driving up to school. I get there just after school got out. But just kind of a quick example of this. I get to the locker room, and there'd be a bag hanging off the doorknob of the coach's room. What it was the brownies that they served at lunch, they used to cook them in those big pans. They used to cut all the ends, all the outside ends off and just give the kids the middle of the brownies. The lady that ran the cafeteria would take the ends, put them in the bag, and hang them on the door for me when I got to practice. It was great. The best part of the brownie. But it's just, that sort of thing. And what was it? Told our guys to make sure that, hey, when you leave the lunchroom, let those ladies just have to worry about the kitchen, not trash on the floor. So stuff like that. And they saw the guys doing that stuff. And you give them a team T-shirt at the beginning of the season, and when we have a team dinner, we make sure that the cafeteria is cleaner when we're done than when we got there, and that stuff all pays off in the long run. But it kind of goes along with the same idea. And if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want as a byproduct. And this was mentioned too. Dean did a good job of mentioning this. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You can be the smartest guy in the room, but if you need to let everybody know that you're the smartest guy in the room, you're not going to get them you're not going to get them where you need them to get in order for your whole program to be successful. Build a big bank account. Now we talked about this with our kids when it came to preparing for the season. How they conducted themselves as far as in the weight room and getting themselves in conditioning and everything. But this idea of building a big bank account goes along with the servant leadership idea, okay? As well as the idea of your kids preparing themselves for a Friday night. It's going to work in all aspects of your job. It's all about making deposits. Those caring deposits, those relationship deposits. If you're spending a minimal amount of time doing that, building those relationships, okay, you're going to have a really small account to draw on. And you're going to overdraw, guaranteed, with what needs to be done in order to be successful in this sport, the commitment it takes, the dedication it takes, the time it takes. Okay? You start asking that stuff before you've made deposits into that emotional account, you're going to get overdrawn. So you can't ask, okay? You can't ask for more than what you put into the account. I should have came up with this visual when I met my wife, because it would have made the checking account conversation a lot easier. But I hadn't made the emotional commitment to her quite yet, so she wasn't ready. I think I'm still overdrawn in that account too. Average yields average. So if it's even, then you're going to be average. But it's great. One of the guys I worked for before, hey, you want to be average? That's great. It's top of the bottom of the top, and the cream of the crap. That's what average is. Large deposits give you even a greater account to draw on. So now we're talking about making a lot of deposits, but it also allows us to make great withdrawals. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment to do this. But it's like we tell our guys, okay? How big of a check can you cover with your account? And we used to tell them, we said, look, I can't tell you how much it's going to cost you on Friday night to win a football game. But wouldn't it be nice to go into that game knowing that you've put so much into your account that you can write whatever check you want, it's going to be covered. And I said, I know you guys have all heard it before. So don't let your mouth write checks that your rear end can't cash. Don't try and write checks that your account won't. 5 F's. This used to be on the wall in our weight room. And we use it in setting your priorities as a player. Setting your priorities as an individual, as an athlete, as a student, as a father, as a husband, as a worker. First one is faith. We're going to get into that in a little bit more. But that's the first thing. The two of the first battles I fought when I took the job at Massapequa, one was with our youth program. They were playing games starting at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings. First meeting we had with them, I said, look guys, you can't do this anymore. Okay? Sunday morning is church time. We can't be asking people to make a decision between going to church and playing football. And it took some time, but eventually we got everything on Sunday moved back to 1, or they started playing on Saturday nights. And the other one was with my staff. We're going to meet Sunday mornings, right? No, we're not meeting Sunday mornings. Because my family and I are going to church. We'll meet in the afternoon, or we'll meet all day, or we'll meet all day Saturday. But Sunday, I don't expect anything from you guys on Sunday. Sunday's family time. Sunday's faith time if you choose to use it that way. Okay? Now I may be on the phone with my offensive coordinator, okay, for an hour or so, and it's not that I didn't do work, didn't prepare for the week on Sunday, but there was no commitment. Family. Now, I like what Coach Weiss said. He said, I'm not talking about you missing practice so that you can go, and I think it was my sister's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, I think, is what he said. He was a lot funnier when he said it. But family comes next. Family comes next. Future. Now when we're talking about future, now we're talking about academics. We're talking about school. We're talking about the things that you need to do in order to move on in your life beyond high school. Then football. And then friends and fun come after. Now, I'm sure you guys know that this is a tough one. That one always wants to move up on the list. But we really felt that this helped get our kids thinking in the right mode. But again, not only for now, but also for the future. Oh, where'd he go? Coach Fuller. All right. Need you out here now, Jay.
That's where he does his best work.
Because he just talked about it. Body, mind, and spirit, or mind, body, spirit? Talking about dimensional coaching. We're talking about coaching the entire athlete. Right? Basically, it's divided into 3 areas. The first dimension is all the physical stuff about the sport. Okay? The knowledge, the football IQ, game plan, strategy, the physical training. You already talked about this. You already talked about it.
I love it.
Now, if most of you guys in here remember, and especially, going back to Skip, when you were a player, when I was a player, hey, what the coach said went. And why was that? Because the coach was an authority figure. You didn't turn around and ask, Coach, why am I blocking this guy on this play? You didn't ask those kind of questions. Or what's the quarterback doing on this play when I'm doing it? You didn't ask those questions because you didn't need to know. But the coach was respected and revered, but it was pretty much an authority figure thing. And that's working in the first dimension of the sport. The second dimension. Now we're talking about relationship building. Caring about your athletes off the field. Putting time and effort into them that is not related to football. On the field. It's them having a come on.
Is that with hair?
I don't know what happened. I can't go back.
The other is straight. Red too bad.
I don't think I can. Oh, yeah, I can.
There you go. There we go.
It's letting them see a different side of you. I don't think I ever saw a different side of any of my coaches, probably until my position coach in college. But you didn't see a different side of them. But this is that idea of, this is that buy-in. This is that, they know that you care something about them, not just what you can get out of them on 8, 10, 12 Friday and Saturday afternoons in the fall. Third dimension is dealing with the spiritual aspect of their lives. Now, this can be difficult, it can be uncomfortable. Now, I am not going to preach to you, and that's far beyond my abilities. But what I can tell you is that in 1990, I became a different coach. In the spring of 1990, and it's because I got my spiritual life ready. Okay? I became a born-again Christian in 1990. Now, some of you probably look at me right now and go, are you kidding me? You? You don't act like that. I pray about that every day, that I can act a little more like that. But when that happened, it helped me so much more in this dimension. And like I said, I'm not going to preach to you, but it's been fantastic to see some of my players make that same commitment. And it's been great to see them, that the relationship that I have built with them, Skip mentioned it earlier about somebody, a former player seeing his son and, hey, say hello to your dad for me. There's nothing like my son will have a get-together with guys that he played with in high school. And he's friends with a wide range of guys. Well, of course, he was around the locker room when he was this high. But when he has those get-togethers at his house, the first question that those guys ask him, they go, hey, is your dad going to be there? That means the world. That, 15, 20 years ago, they still want to hang around with you? That means a lot. Now, there have been a lot of great things that have happened to me in my football career, but this is probably the one that means the most to me. And it's not because we won a state championship on this day. It's because the caption at the beginning of this picture, which was in the Portland Press Herald on Sunday after we won, was Coach Morin leads his team in prayer. And that said it all. Because that's not, we would pray anytime we had a meal together. We prayed together every time that before we stepped on the field, prior to a game. And if those of you that coached against me know that this happened in the end zone at the end of every game. And our parents would come onto the field and want to be around that huddle when we did that. Talk about making an impact on a community. This, and it was all because of this spiritual piece. I really believe that. All right. Artificial intelligence. Oh, before I do that, there's a gentleman out back with a orange shirt. Okay? Mark Jones, who is the Southern Maine representative of Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Okay? Mark and I go back a long way because we had a guy. We had one of the FCA huddles going on at our school. We had a good group of football players and athletes involved in that, and all of a sudden, the guy that was here just left, and things kind of fell apart. My school wouldn't let me be involved with the huddle because I was an administrator. So the person that was leading the huddle got a job at another school and left. They wouldn't let me take over. The huddle fizzled, and the guy that helped us get it started disappeared. Well, then all of a sudden I get a call one day from this guy who says he's going to be the new Maine representative for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Great. So we set a time for him to come to our school. Well, couldn't have picked a worse day because my assistant principal duty list was huge that day, and it took a lot out of me. If I ever needed to have a visit that day, it was that day. Mark was there. But the reason I mention that is the dimensional coaching that I'm talking about is a program that you can actually, it's a course that you can take through FCA that takes you through all of those steps of dimensional coaching. And there's a new program out called Coaching 360 now, which again is along the same idea, how everything builds together. Okay, and I know Corey has done the 3D course and has his certificate from that. You could certainly ask him about that. But really, I encourage you to go over and introduce yourself to Mark when you're done. He's got some great materials that can help you. And again, I'm not going to preach to you, but I can tell you one thing. I don't know how I could have done the job that I did without the relationship that I had with my Lord and Savior. I don't know how I would have done it. Being able to get on my knees and pray sometimes was such a relief. Enough of that. Artificial intelligence. You've heard all this stuff this week about how artificial intelligence is going to take over and this and that and everything. Let me tell you, I've been living on artificial intelligence my whole coaching career. Because 99% of what we've done, I stole from somebody else. Or it was an idea that someone else had, or it was a a proven success principle. So why reinvent the wheel? If it works for someone else, if you follow the same pattern, do the same things, then you'll have the same amount of success. And here's a big one. Don't be jealous of someone else's success. Find out what they're doing and follow their lead. I think that's one of the things that we, as coaches, have a tendency, we get envious of someone because of the success they're having. It's that ego thing that Dean was talking about, but this takes it to a negative. This takes it to a negative. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But here's one thing I really feel strongly about. Make sure you give credit to others. First of all, the people that assisted you. I was blessed with great assistants, okay, from my time at Massavisa. 2 of them were co-head coaches the year before I got there, and were with me on the whole time that I was there. And there was another guy who was a varsity assistant that we asked to go down and be the head football coach for the freshmen. After being a varsity assistant, wasn't happy about it, but ended up doing a great job. Again, the whole time that I was there. Okay? And if it weren't for those guys, we would never. Because if I'd have had to try to do all that stuff myself and be the assistant principal at the same time, never would have happened. So that idea of surrounding yourself with quality people. But you got to make sure you give them credit. Okay? It's we. It's not I. It's we. And I remember my wife. I would talk like that at home, and she'd say, "John, those guys don't work as hard as you do. John, they didn't do that. They didn't." She says, "Why do you say we?" I said, it's we. And then there's the 3 tiers of credit. Okay? If you really find something you like, a quote, or whatever it is, the first time you use it, okay, Skip Capone once told me, and then it would be Skip's quote. Well, the next time I use it, somebody told me this once. Okay? And then the third time I use it, it's, well, I always say. So as long as you give credit the first time and kind of remember who they were the second time, third time it's yours. Just remember, people are doing the same thing to you too. This is huge, guys, and it takes time away from what some of us might think is more important. We were very fortunate that we were able to go away at Bridgeton Academy for the first week of preseason. We had those guys 24/7. It was awesome. I don't even know how. You couldn't do the job that we did in that week staying at home. But this is one of the things that we would practice that week and hopefully be able to carry it out throughout the year. What the mind can conceive and the heart will believe you can achieve. You need to teach your players to think in pictures. See themselves achieving success. See themselves performing at a high level. See themselves reaching the goals they've set. Make it as real as possible and involve the senses. Okay? Just an example of this. 2000, the year that we won, we knew that we were going to be pretty good. But everything still needs to fall into place. We were there until Saturday morning. I think it was Thursday night. We went into the lecture hall where we used to meet in the evening. Turned all the lights off. Told them to close their eyes. And for the next 15 or 20 minutes, we built what it was gonna look like on Fitzpatrick Stadium, November 19th, 2000. We built it to the point where we had fans in the room blowing cold air on them. We took a piece of metal that we could, the closest thing we could find to the shape of a football. We put it in the freezer in the dining hall. We had every kid touch that, picturing holding the gold ball in the cold November air on Fitzpatrick Stadium. We told them that when you come into town, it's called Shaker Hill. It's probably, a hill, maybe, I don't know, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile? I go, there's gonna be fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, every emergency vehicle in the 6 towns is gonna be lined up on that hill with lights flashing and horns beating. We built it. I gotta tell you that the thing I remember the most was we were in a bus at the base of Shaker Hill, and it's like we had Jason Otash and Tommy Thornton, 2 of our captains. They ran to the front of the bus, sat in the front seat with me, and they said, "Coach, it looks just like you said it would." And I know that with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the 4th quarter, we were behind. And it's all those visions, it's all that. They were going to make it happen because they'd already seen it. They had that picture. Nothing was going to deter them from making that picture a reality. And again, the other thing is this visualization can work in any part of your life. And so again, it's something that I think that we did that I think is pretty important. Now, visualization can work for you too. Okay? This is a picture that I found. It was either my sophomore or junior year in college. It was in a special edition of Sports Illustrated. It's Jerry Kramer and Forrest Gregg holding up Vince Lombardi after Super Bowl II. And it's a great picture because the 2 of them didn't get along. 5 minutes, I got it. The 2 of them didn't get along. But if you look at Jerry's eyes and his eyes, you'd never know it. And I said, wouldn't it be great to be able to have that kind of a relationship with a player? That picture was taken on the field at the end of the state game in 2000. Not staged. I didn't get that picture until the banquet that we had in January when we got our rings, when that player gave me that picture. So visualization can work for you too. Of course, now it won't work.
Looks like the row game was working in that picture too.
Huh?
Looks like the row game was working in that picture.
Oh, isn't that something, huh? Tough decisions and conversations, you better be ready to have them. Don't avoid them. Don't avoid them. They're going to happen with these. One I came up with after I put the media. The biggest thing about these conversations is be honest and be consistent. Because then nobody can come back and say, hey, you said this and did this when it happened here. Now you're doing just the exact opposite here. Why? If you're honest and consistent, you never have to worry about that stuff. Choose your battles wisely. 24-hour rule. You may want to say it, bite your tongue. Sit on it. Think about it. Don't text. And if you're going to send an email, write it, put it in your draft box, let it sit. Go back and read it later on. You may edit it. You may send it just the way it is, or you may decide you don't have to send it at all. But if it's a hill to die on, measure the cost versus the reward before you make your decision. What do you need? Questions, comments, assistance, a sounding board? This is all, this is all a part of why Skip is doing what he's doing with these. It's why I'm still involved in the game. My contact information, again, if there's anything here that tweets something that you want to talk about or meet about, or I would love nothing more than that. And again, Mark Jones, Outback, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, if any of that touched a part of you today, please introduce yourself to Mark. Jay, what do you need?
Coach, I get a little emotional thinking about you. You have made a huge impact on me when I was a player.
And I was on the other side of
We
the
were at
field.
Ford Academy. But also with Skip here, someone that I just absolutely love. Instilled a lot of this stuff a long time ago in my heart. And the fact that you so beautifully, put it up there, a map, if you will, to touch a player's heart, to be a transformational coach rather than a transactional one that understands the spirit of a young man and what the game can do for them is it's incredible. And I'm really appreciative of what you did here today because it reinforces a lot of things that has been instilled in me in the way I try to coach my players and being around my staff. And I'm just very grateful for what you did here today.
It's evident because of the turnaround that's happened in a very short time at your school that's the kind of impact that you have.
It's because of you guys, honestly.
And I'm not surprised because of what I saw, and like I said, it was very short-lived because I was an opponent as opposed to an everyday. But this stuff was all evident back then.
I appreciate you, Coach.
Hey, fellas, we're gonna keep this thing rolling. Coach O'Connell, you're up next. Okay, again, and then we'll finish up with Coach Filio. Again, have a chance to say hi to Mark in the back. We got plenty of water, fellas.